Happy Monday, everybody. So off the top, I wanted to mention the survey that we did last week and the testing that we did. So we had a group of students go over and test a new Discord server, an Academy of Animated Art Discord server. And we surveyed them and we asked them, do they prefer Discord or do they prefer Facebook? And by an massive, overwhelming amount, people prefer Discord as a way for everyone to interact. And what we've been noticing is that the conversations over there are fantastic. So what we're going to start doing is we're going to start moving all of our daily interactions and all that stuff over to Discord. It's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to pull the plug on the Facebook groups quite yet. And they'll always live on because there's a lot of really great information on there. But, starting today and moving forward, we're going to focus more on getting everyone over and set up on Discord. So if you have any questions about that, let us know. But we'll be posting links and updates and all that regularly as we move forward. The October Lightning Challenge ended yesterday with some amazing, or 2 days ago, with some incredible submissions. Super excited to announce the winner tomorrow. Jasmine and I are still debating over who is going to be the winner, so we're still talking that through. But now, let's hop into, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to go over some images, and we're going to have a good time. All right, see you in there. All right, so as I mentioned, we have a ton of amazing submissions from our monthly lighting challenge in October. Just incredible stuff, really cool stuff all the way around. We also announced our November lighting challenge, so we've got Prisha here. So one update on Prisha, just we are having issues exporting the sclera of her eyes. We're noticing that that's not coming through. So if you've already downloaded it and you're missing that, you can just throw a sphere in there to match that. But we're not 100% sure why that's not coming through, but we should get that cleaned up here for you pretty soon. But really fun model. The translucency on these flowers is going to be key in getting those to look just right, because that is very, very, very tricky to do, as we will mention in the critique here in a minute. So I wanted to start with some questions. First let's start with Aaron, and then I'll talk about one that was asked by Nigel. Okay, Aaron asks, does anyone have any tips on figuring out camera focal length for shots? I continue to default to 35mm, but honestly, I don't know how best to utilize it. That is very true. So so I created a Unleash the Power of Photography to tell the story in our YouTube channel. It's a video that talks about aspect ratio, camera lenses, depth of field, all that kind of stuff. And this is a great animated GIF that Forrest posted here to kind of give you an idea of how focal length can really play with the perspective, not only in the environment, but also a character. And so I'll let you guys watch a video. I won't dive too much into that. But one of the things that I will say is to always, always, always make sure to be analyzing your lens and your aspect ratio to help tell the story. Wider aspect ratios are more cinematic. They're more grand. They're more wide scale. Narrower aspect ratios that are more square can feel more claustrophobic. They can feel tighter, often used in horror films or dramas and that kind of thing. And I can just talk this through. So you can see at the wider angles, like the 35 downward, you can see the aspects of his face get distorted. So watch his nose. Just pay attention to the nose. See how it gets kind of elongated. His mouth gets a little bit elongated. The brim of his hat gets stretched out. As you get more telephoto, all those kind of get squished in together, which is why when you're shooting portraiture, you generally do an 80, 85mm lens, because that flattens it just the right amount without looking too flat. Okay, but enough about that. Okay, so second up, I wanted to talk about Grayson, who I swear to you asked this question, and I can't find it anywhere, so I'll just flip through images while I'm doing that. So Grayson asked me, hey, so you've I've worked through an assignment, you've called it final and done. What do you so does that mean it's ready for my demo reel? And the answer is, so when I call something done in the critiques or final in the critiques, it's it's what I think the best, or that project has reached its best potential and therefore ready for a demo reel. Now, am I saying that absolutely you have to put that on your demo reel and it can never come off? No way. No way. Because the more work you do and the further that you move along, you keep making better and better stuff. And eventually the old stuff will just kind of fall by the wayside, right? So when I say that something's good or done, it's that I think that we've reached our conclusion of notes on that particular version of that shot, and we don't really need to progress any further. So therefore, it's kind of not like a total cop-out answer, but it's a little bit of a cop-out answer, because you're like, what I mean is that's the best that can be. It's demo reel worthy. Like, I would be happy with it, and I would never, ever, ever tell you guys that something is good unless it's good. I promise you that. So you can assume it's good for your demo reel, but then before you send out your demo reel, always post that so we can take a look at that, because it matters in context. Because sometimes it's like you just have too much of one type of project, and having the ability to demonstrate other skills is more important than having that one project on there. So it's a little different there. All right. So I'll talk more about Hannah's images, but one question that you asked was about creating separate light linking for the snow. And that is something, yeah, totally. Snow is so finicky that sometimes you'll have to create a separate key light, some added fill light to fill in the shadows just for the snow elements. Now that can get tricky if you start to reposition the light, because then the shadows cast on the background don't match the shadow cast like on the character if they're in two different locations. But I would definitely consider breaking them out as separate lights to control their value so that the whites get bright without blowing out and the fill values get nice and colorful. And then there's always a little bit of tweaking done in the comp too. So that's always an added benefit there. Okay, let's see. So we got that. And then I want to, yeah. Okay, so Eugene, this one, we haven't seen this one in a while. Let's check it out. Yeah, lighting on this looks great. This is a long shot. I can see why it took you 5 weeks to render this one out. The only thing that I would say is if you can get a little more specularity on the hair, that would be great. There's also one part I noticed when she rotates back to the screen right side, where it's more of like an animation thing, but if you watch her cheek in here, it's a little low res in Facebook, but if you watch her cheek in here, there are some dark shadows that kind of come in right around her lip crease and like right in there. And I would maybe consider going in on some of those frames and just lifting the shadows a little bit to help soften that. But other than that, this looks really, really great. Like, shaping is great. The specularity on her skin looks great. The colors look really strong. I don't really have anything else to add to this, except for I would, well, two things. One, I would do the hair. Yeah, her hair specularity, watch out for the cheek. And then, like, in that pose, totally, like, her eye whites get a little bit bright. Totally finicky. Boom. It's just because she's looking off in the fill area, and then they just kind of, ding, like, just look a little super bright. Other than that, it's just great. It's really cool. You should be proud of this one. Throw it on your reel. Call it done. Really, really amazing stuff all around there. All right, so let's get into some other ones. Let's start off with Anabelle here. So Anabelle, love your background. Love, like, you're getting so much like good detail on this character. Like, look at again, specularity in here, across the chest, getting good shaping here. I think that this rim can come down just a touch. Also, it would be nice. Do you see how like this is getting a little bit of the yellow light? Like, it's like a little bit yellow green. I would almost shift the color of just this rim light a little bit more to match that, because it just seems like that those are tied to these lights here. And then I would match in with that. Again, toenails look great. Face looks really good, bounced up from underneath. It doesn't really make that much logical sense. Like, there's no light source down here shining up at him. It just looks good. I think you can soften it just a touch more. Like whatever iterative amount that you did for the last one, go about another 50%. And then if you could get, just pull these off so I can look at this. I'm just looking at this, the lower screen left side of the character. I would almost just want like a touch more contrast in that region, especially in the darks, like maybe just pulling down the darks just a little bit. It doesn't necessarily need to be just down there, but I think like just getting a little bit more dark value in there, it just like helps ground the character down and create a little bit more shaping going up. Totally subtle, but I think that's really good. If you want the face to pop off a little bit more, one thing you could consider doing is shifting. Oop, not that. Nope. Cancel, please. Is shifting his face just slightly warmer. And that warmth, because everything else is so subtle and cool, that little bit of warmth on the face can really just help push him and bounce him off a little bit more. So, but all in all, this is looking really good. You could even throw the farther background. I know you probably worked really hard on this, but like throw that further background into depth of field a little bit and just blur that up like 5 pixels and see if you like that. Ashley. Good stuff. Good stuff. Last final thing. I know I keep giving teeny tiny little notes on this, but it's so close and I just want it to be perfect. Just brightening the face a little bit and pulling off just a touch of that saturation. Just see if you like this. Just like that little bit more. And I would call this done. You may even want to do that on, give a pass at doing that on her too. If I click that right now. Just like a little bit more brightness. Shift her a little bit there too. Just like that touch up more brightness from here to there. And then I think you're good. I would call it done from there, but really great stuff. Okay, last one. Sorry, I know I said done. I'm wondering if any more little bit of Gaussian blurry goodness on top would help at all. Just like just a super minor amount more. That's too much. Just something like that. Just that little bit of touch at the end. Something, yeah. So like from here and then, yeah, from there to there. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, really, like I said, now we're down to some such super finicky minor things that we're really close. Okay, Dani. So we got 1. Let's just take a look at this. 2, 3. Wait, something else changed, right? Yeah. I'm gonna take away 2.5 right now, just because it's just like the other stuff that changes is a little bit distracting. Yeah. Let me just. That's fine. Just put that up there. Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the one thing that's throwing me off on all of them is the hardness of this edge. And I think that this one right here, oof, this edge right here, I think we can soften that a little bit, and I think that'll help. But in terms of the length of it, I think you can go. I think you can go to there. But it's, yeah, and then make sure you soften this edge a little bit. And it's like I would keep this where it's at and then just extend the fall off if you can a little bit more. If you have this rendered as a separate element, yeah, if you have this rendered as a separate element, I would, next time you post this in the background, and then I can take a look at comping them together too, to give you an idea of how I would layer those together as well. With this amount of brightness back behind, I'm wondering now if it wouldn't be a better idea to get a little bit of just like rim light, as if light's bouncing up off the ground onto these guys, just like a touch. And I think that would help. For this one, I think we need, like this is, the background's looking a lot better. Compared to the reference, there's two things that are standing out to me that I would like to see for the next round. Number one is a bright central sun, like the way that this is right there. And then you see how all of this is fading forward. And I know it's a little bit of a different setup, but the fact that it's like a hard cutoff at this wall, I think is not the way to go, because what's happening is it's turning the image very like graphic in its design, in that it's like this area, it's like the background, the bright background, then this, and then the stuff from here forward. So it's like 1, 2, 3, and not ideal. So I think we can wrap a little bit of this sun wash over the brick wall and start it back here, and then have it fade off as it comes down this way and this way. So it's like it gets lessened as it comes closer to the camera. The other big thing that I'm just now noticing is, like, wouldn't there be more shadow from that wall here? Like, I would think that, like, if you look at the reference, the way that, this person's shadow extends all the way out here, I would be surprised if the shadow of this didn't extend like out pretty far. Because if we're looking at human scale reference, like, when I'm standing at a playground, my head goes to about here, and I'm 6'3". I'm not 6'3". I'm shorter than that. But so that, like, this is like 10 feet tall. Like up here would be higher than that. Like maybe that's 14 feet tall. The wall feels like it would come up to like about here. So that feels like it's like a 10-foot high wall. And so, like, I feel like that, I just think the shadow would extend further outward, and then to the point where you'd see some of that softening edge, and it wouldn't feel like such a hard cutoff. So I would work on that. And let's see. Yeah, the sky looks a lot better. You can go a little less saturated in here. Yeah, and I would go after that for the next iteration. For this guy, this is all working a lot better. Like this is falling into place much more uniformly. I think that overall, we can probably push the brights even brighter on some of these. Push it back down there. To really kind of push it around the room a little bit. And I like this here. I think that trying to think. Give me a sec. I'm trying to like get away for the crown to read a little bit better. Like almost like move the crown a little bit forward so it can almost get silhouetted by this, because this brightness and then the brightness being cast onto it from there just kind of muddle together a little bit. Or maybe it's just a matter of just lowering this down a touch. I just want the brightness of the crown to be over a darker background, you know what I mean? So if by lowering this down to like here, you're able to get that brightness out of the base, and then it's able to fade up into some darkness, and then you're just able to hit that. Also, I would expect there to be a little bit more shadow underneath here. So just to get a little more grounding, a little more darkening. And then watch out for the scale of the bricks inside the domes here. Those feel very large. And then these God rays, I would desaturate them about 30%. Make them a little whiter. I think that would be good there. All right, Hana. Okay, so looking at this one from your, I think this one is better. If this is the one that you're referring to as a softer version. This one, I think it's like you can. I would. See something. I would keep it about that. So it's like a little bit of like a split the difference. Like take it down so it's not quite getting so bright. But so there's a little bit more feeling of key light on the character. And then, like I said, in the top, I would separate out separate light, because like some of this is getting a little bit grayer. Better light on the pine needles, You're getting more shaping back there, which is looking really nice. Your challenge is going to be on these bases, like getting them to integrate well into the ground. Like that looks really good. This one feels like it's a little more just jammed in there. So the fact that this one's got like a little bit of buildup around the edge really helps. And then I think overall the character could probably go a little brighter. Let's see. Yeah, more in this realm. And then skin tone can go. I would go a little less blue in the shadow area to warm up the skin tone. And for the background, you want there to be a little bit more stepping back into the space, so you want a little more contrast here on these foreground trees, and then like a little bit, and then it's like slowly build up into the fog back there, into the aerial perspective, because we're pretty heavy at it, and we're only about 10 meters behind the character here, and there wouldn't be quite that much buildup. Allow that to happen further back here while this is getting more contrast. At this close-up too, you can it feels like we're a little bit further back from the character with the telephoto lens, just judging by the look of things. Which means you can go a little out of focus in this background too. I think that'll help out a lot too. With this one, yeah, same basic notes with this one. A little bit more contrast in these trees here and here to get them to step back into space a little bit. Shaping was looking good across here. Like that, it would be nice. Oh, this shadow is a little odd coming in from this way. So you want to soften, you want to increase the radius of that, because you don't want anything to conflict with that, because or that light casting that shadow, because that's the name of the game there. And yeah, it just looks like, it just makes it feel more artificial and stage lit. Jordan, great sky on this one. I think somebody mentioned the samples. Like, yeah, it looks like it's in the middle of rendering there. So I would, yeah, just check the samples there and just make sure the render is fully complete. But in terms of aesthetics, I think it's looking really, really great. I just think that you can pull back the saturation on the warms, just like a touch, like 10% off the saturation, and then we'll take a look at it again. Nigel. All right. Okay. So for this one, my thoughts, let's start with the daytime one. Then we'll go to the nighttime one. Well, basically, here's my thought. I think that, let's go in here. Let's do it this way. What I'm doing is combining these two kind of, because what I'm seeing in your original is, sorry, I do that sometimes. So basically in this original, I think the shadows are way too dark. It just doesn't feel like there's a lot of secondary light bouncing around. And with skin tone, with flowers, with this veil, one of the things that we really wanted to push for in this was just like the bleeding of colors, and the colors just like bouncing around, and translucency, and really getting like some good color in there. And by adding in this second light, which is essentially, this night light, which is essentially like all fill, and I'm just looking at the character here. By adding in this secondary light with all this fill value, you're really kind of penetrating and getting in there. And it also helps in the flowers. The flowers are a little bit overlit right now, but you can see, like, looking in the shadow region in there, flowers don't cast heavy shadow the way that like a piece of cardboard would or something. Like there will be light bleed from those flowers onto this wall. So you want to kind of play that up a little bit. Like, and you don't necessarily need to fully rely on the renderer. Like, one of the things about this sequence from the film Epic is look at the amount, like these flowers never really get super dark in here. And, it's because light is allowed to penetrate. And it's not only like, based on the shader properties. There was, you can do light sources directly tied to these flowers. And I know when I've done flower stuff in the past, I will do a pass of the flowers with a very filled in light. And I will just kind of like dial that in a little bit in the comp. Like take something like this, the way that this kind of fills in all of the interior flower values, and add that in here to kind of get into these like darker crevices, shadow areas. Actually, back here it's working pretty well. The way that it's definitely shadowed where it's not quite as bright, but it's not like deep, dark, and crunchy that way. I would do that. And the other thing you really want to pay attention to is something wacky's going on here. So just watch out for that. Like this veil is just, it doesn't quite look like a veil. It just looks like it's darkening back there. And I want to talk about your reference too. Like look how much warmth is in the shadow in the cocoa shots here. And same thing with all of these women in these examples. Like there's so much warmth in the shadows. And look at these flowers down here. Look at the flowers in here. There's not a lot of those deep dark shadows because the petals have translucency and allow the light to penetrate that. So keep going. It's a great first iteration. I can't believe you turned something around so quickly. But yeah. I mean, with iterations becomes a really nice piece. So that is all for today. Thank you guys again. And I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we announce the winner, because tomorrow is just a totally normal Tuesday. Nothing else major happening tomorrow except for the announcement of the lighting challenge winner. All right. Until then, everybody, take care. Happy lighting.